Good morning, everybody. We're here today doing another sunken living room. We're gonna be tearing out the carpet here, tearing out the baseboards, then coming in, setting some rebar, fiberglass rebar, and then pouring concrete and leveling this sunken living room out. We've done it before and we're doing it again today for this customer. We got concrete at 10 a.m., got here at 7 a.m., and everything should be prepped out and ready to go by then. So yeah, let's get down to it. Hi, Tyler Odell here with Odell Complete Concrete, and today we're going to be filling up this sunken living room with concrete. Along the edges here, we're breaking off the tiles so we can get down to the existing concrete level. And we're going to transfer that elevation all across the living room here just to make sure we're completely level with the old foundation. That way when they go to retile this area we're going to be filling up here, it will be right on the money. This was quite a common build design back in the day, and it's just not a good one because I've came in to fill these things up hundreds of times, and it's always the same thing. I mean, whether people are getting older or they have someone elderly living in their home, they just want everything to be level, and they don't want this trip hazard because this isn't ADA compliant, and like I said, it could be a trip hazard for anybody really. So yeah, we're gonna be filling this up today, and if you are someone looking to do the same thing, it's totally possible. You could do it DIY style, or you can hire a concrete guy to come in and do it for you. And this is how you do it. So we're drilling into the old concrete foundation, and what we're gonna do here is drive some 3/8 rebar into these holes we're making. That way when we pour our new concrete in the sunken area, it will tie it all in together real nice, and it won't sink or shift in the future. As you guys can see, this grout is real hard to get off where the tiles are setting, but it's very crucial we get all of it off. Otherwise we won't have proper elevations to go off of for our new concrete slab. I'm trying to expose the existing footing here, or the existing foundation, so we can, make sure our new concrete goes right up to this level. But yeah, it's moving along. It just takes a little elbow grease, but we're getting it done, and I'm exposing it real nice now. Luckily that side was just carpet, so that side's nice and clean, but it's just this little edge here. But yeah, it's basically done now. Just doing a little bit more cleanup. Yep, it's crucial to get those good even heights so we can transfer it all the way around to the other side. What we did notice was it wasn't perfectly level. This floor here was actually sloping about 1% towards the carpet area right here that you guys are seeing. So yeah, I had about maybe 0.5% to 1% slope on it. I can't quite remember, but it wasn't perfectly level, and that's quite common, and there's nothing you can do about that. You just have to go from elevation to elevation and rod it like that. Make sure you're matching levels on each side. They are going to be coming through this house at a later date to retile the entire house, but that will be somebody else's job later. And the most important thing, I guess, is to be lower than higher when you do pour your concrete, because if you're too high, you're gonna have to come back and grind down this concrete, and that would be a real hassle and headache to do, so you don't want that to happen. So yeah, it's always better to be lower, and then the tile guys can throw some extra thin set if they need it to get it level, but yeah, don't want to be higher. You don't want to bust out the grinders. Now we're putting plastic up along the drywall. Don't want to get a bunch of concrete splatter up here because won't be any good having to come back, the next day to sponge it off. I'd rather just rip this plastic off the final pass on the knee boards and then call it a day. So here's the pink bar going in, fiberglass rebar, and we talked about this on the last episode of mine, and another thing I wanted to add to that conversation was dowels. So when it comes to doing dowels for fiberglass rebar, what do you guys think about that? Because every time I try to drive in my rebar dowels, the or the fiberglass rebar dowels, that is, the ends blow up and they explode. They don't go into the holes properly. I didn't put any epoxy in those holes, but you don't really need to when it's a 3/8 drill bit on 3/8 rebar. They're not going to come out or move. However, it is hard to get those fiberglass rebars in, which is what I'm starting to notice. So that's a little tricky. You might need steel rebar dowels in order to make that work and to make that happen. But if you guys have any tips or tricks about that, let me know. This is about a 5 to 6 inch slab here, so I don't think the slab is going to be doing any moving or shifting anyways, and it's all locked in wall to wall, so I don't think it's going to really matter however you put it. I mean, this is also 3500 psi, so we beefed it up a little bit with pea gravel and 1% accelerator in here. But yeah, I mean, you can see we got a big old 16-foot 2x4 rod board, and Enrique is just going right off the existing elevation of the house over there, and I'm going off the existing elevation over here. So we're basically money. You know, you don't need a screed pin or anything. We're just going right off the corners, and it's a real nice straight 2x4. I made sure of that. That's probably the most important thing. And yeah, we're just going from concrete to concrete. Some of that the primer from the pump got in here, which made it a little water. You could see some water standing at the bottom, but it was just a little bit because we got most of it into the wheelbarrow. But yeah, I mean, this came out real nice. It was a good load here, and we're just bowl floating it now. And I'm routing it back with Enrique. We're coming down one way, and then I'm gonna come back down with a little 3-foot rod board down this along the whole edge of the house on the other side here. So I'm teaching Luis how to use the bowl flow. You could see there, he's getting better with it. He definitely needs a little bit more practice, but for the most part, he's getting pretty good with it. When you have a real good guy on the bowl float, it's nice because they can kind of see high and low points and drag it out with the bowl float, or push the mud where there's the low point or whatever it needs to be. When you have a new guy on it, it could be a little more tricky because they might not catch those things, but everybody starts somewhere. So here I am with the 3-footer, just coming back down the side, making sure it's all good here. It looked like a little low point in that corner. I filled up with some concrete, but we got it good, and I double checked everything with the laser, and yeah, we dialed it in. So we laid it down with the rod board, then we hit it with the 4-foot wood bowl float, then we hit it with the 3-foot mag float, and then we followed that up with the 4-foot Fresno here. And then after that, it's just kind of a waiting game. These sunken living rooms take a little while longer to dry just because they're not sitting on dirt or anything that's gonna suck up that moisture, which is why I always add 1% accelerator in it. Kind of get us out of here a little quicker, otherwise we're just standing around hours on end, not doing anything. So that's why we got these custom wooden plywood tabs. Not quite sure what they call them, whatever Enrique's sitting on, but I just cut some out of plywood for us. That way we can get out there on the concrete when it's a little more wet to give it a first laydown. And that way you don't sink in, and it kind of disperses your weight a little more evenly, and you don't make big bird bass or holes in the concrete. And I mean, when you got a guy like Enrique where he's 140 pounds, he's not gonna really leave any holes anyways. It's the bigger guys you gotta worry about. But yeah, this was done with a full in crew house today. Me, Enrique, Luis, and Enrique's son, Junior. Here I am laying it down. You can tell it's still pretty darn wet, but that's okay because this is just to catch all those edges, make sure they're nice and flat, and kind of just float it out nice and evenly. I got a big fiberglass hand float here, and I have it with some notches on the end of it so it pulls up some cream a little bit better. You can see there it kind of leaves lines in the concrete, and it just helps me pull up some extra cream in the concrete. Then I can go back and trowel it out. Probably a little too wet to be out on it at this point, to be honest, but I mean, we had been waiting for about 2 hours after we both loaded to get out on it like that, so we definitely waited a long time. And you know, when you put the steel down on it, it kind of helps speed up that drying time. So while me and Enrique are catching the middle, we got Luis catching all the edges. Good teamwork here. You can see we're just making sure we're nice and level with that existing concrete on the edges there. Now Enrique's just wiping out any extra lines that we made when we were out there on the knee boards, giving it a quick wipe down, and then we're gonna wait it out another hour or two before we hit it with the final pass. So I think this might be the final pass now. About 2 hours later. This was a long pour. I mean, we poured out at 10 a.m. and I don't think we were done until about 4 p.m. or something like that. So, I mean, it wasn't bad, it wasn't terrible, but usually with these, once I pour it out, I like to be done within an hour or two because there's really not much to it. We just happened to be here for about 6-7 hours waiting for this load to dry. You can see it definitely stiffened up during that time we waited. So I busted out my mini fiberglass hand float. This one also has a bunch of notches in it. And I got my big 24-inch trowel on me here. And now I'm just wiping this baby down, getting a nice finish on her too. You can see there. I also got the fiberglass sliders. These sliders don't sink as much. They're a little bigger than the metal sliders. The metal ones like to sink a lot, and they're a little harder to slide around on, so you're not slipping around all over the place. You can really lay down some pressure on the concrete and not move around, so it's kind of nice, especially when the concrete, on a hot day, the concrete's getting hot, you need to be able to put down a lot of pressure on that mud. The technique here is to hit the edges along the wall, float them out, trowel out the edges, and then you can hit the middle section next to you. But you definitely want to hit the edges first and then hit the middle. That'll make your life a lot easier. There's really only one way to do it, and that's the only way. no broom finish on this one. We're just gonna hit it with a classic trowel finish, smooth finish, and that's gonna be a wrap on this project. It's a slippery surface, you wouldn't want this outdoors, but for tiling, it's great. Alrighty guys, we're just now wrapping up the sunken living room. It's about 2 p.m. now. Started the day at 7, quarter out at 10 o'clock. We had 1% accelerator in there, but even with that 1% accelerator, it still kind of dried slow, and that's because we're pouring right on top of concrete. So you're not pouring on top of dirt where that moisture can get sucked into. So it takes a little longer, but it's real nice and hard now. Check it out, we burned it black, got a real nice smooth finish, trowel on it, and yeah, this is ready for tile. And like I say in all my sunken living room videos, it's better to be lower than higher, because if you're too high, they're gonna have to come in, the tile guys, and grind this down a lot to try to get it to match elevations. But if you're a little bit lower, it's okay, they can build it up with mortar. And yeah, we just made sure we were lower than higher. Yeah, it looks good, and that's a wrap on this video. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll be seeing you on the next one. Bye. Some last minute cleanup work, some broom work, and we're good to go. Anyways, like I said, thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.